Why, good evening, ladies and germs. This is Marcus from Your Move Games with part 2 of our final rushing video series. The subject matter of this video will concern unusual final rushing situations. The first video, if you can find it, is concerning the standard rules, the meat and potatoes, so to speak. So in this video, we're going to explore some of the stranger things that can happen. So one of the first things that we're going to cover, in fact, it is the first thing we're going to cover, is what we call a two's company. This is what happens when you have two units, it's your turn, and you are both within final rush range. Both of these units are within 3.5 inches of a center point. And in this instance, both of these units, if you measure corner to corner to determine the facing side, are finding the front flank, the front to be the facing side. So in this case, you have the option, instead of just having one of these units final rush and the other one have to set up for the next turn, you have the option to do this. This is optional, but the nice thing about this is that even though you don't get any kind of pinching bonuses or extra combat bonuses, you still get 2 attacks versus his 1 attack, so this is oftentimes a good thing. Now, if it was a case where this unit was in, both these units were in final rush range, but one of these units was seeing the flank as the nearest side, because by measuring right here, now this center point is closer to this center point as opposed to the front. This can be a pinch, and this is pretty much what you're striving to achieve in this game anyway. If you can get a pinch on an enemy unit before your opponent gets a pinch on one of your units, things are going well for you right there, and you get all those sweet combat bonuses. Now, another situation that can arise, let's get some more opponents out here, shall we, is an instance where, actually, let's forget about these guys. Final rushing is simultaneous, so assuming that these are both, this is your turn, and both units are able to final rush, you do have situations where if one guy goes first, the other one can't final rush, he can't quite get his full card in there. So you have the option, again, you decide when the final rushes happen for your units. You can simultaneously do one of these types of maneuvers as long as you're able to get 1.75 inches of the card on the opposing unit. You can do this. So this, again, is optional. You could choose just to have that unit go in there, and since the werewolf pack is a badass unit, you may want to delay this or whatever. But if it's your turn, you can do this. This is a possibility for you. All right, next we're going to explore a rather strange one. And let's bring out some more boys for the party, shall we? Here we go. Okay, so let's say we have a situation where you meet the final rushing criteria, but your unit can't quite fit, let's just say maybe even something like this. You're not allowed ever to overlap an opposing unit, so you can't do this. This is an illegal final rush right here. However, if all the other final rush criteria are met, you're within range, you can see the unit, etc., etc. Let's move this out here for better visibility. You can final rush with a flank. In this case, you turn and you face your flank to your opponent, and you can choose. It could be whichever flank you want. And you can move in as long as you can get 1.75 inches of that card on the facing side, and you definitely have it here. If that's the case, then you can perform this final rush right here. Now, in this case, you are attacking to your flanks, so you are going to lose the attack die. This is a -1 attack die for you for the attacking to the flank penalty. However, this is a special case in that the unit attacking you does not get the flanking bonus, since you initiated this attack and you made the final rush. So you mark the card however you want, put an X on it, whatever. They do not get a +1 offensive skill in this case. This is an exception. Now, we're going to do a final case, and perhaps the weirdest of them all. In the earlier iterations of Battleground Fantasy Warfare, there were instances where people would do this sort of thing, and you had to be able to get at least half your card on the facing, on the nearest facing side of the unit. And originally, in the old and pre-4.0 rules, there was no way that you could final rush anybody with this. In the 4.0 rules, we fixed that by allowing you to final rush the corner of a unit. So, in this case, as long as, again, all the other final rushing criteria is met, you have a facing side, you have a clear path, unit is visible, you're within range of your movement, You can final rush the corner of the unit. What you do is you simply place your front and center point on the corner of the unit, and this corner in this instance acts like the center point for this attack right here. And sometimes you may have instances where maybe there's a little bit of weirdness, you can't overlap the unit. Well, then just try to get your front center point as close as you possibly can to the enemy unit, so this would in fact be an engagement. You have the path, the unit is right there. Remember, in the big game of Battleground Fantasy Warfare and Historical Warfare, none of our units are really clear rectangles as they are displayed on cards. They kind of morph and form a little bit, you know, people move around, so it's not really going to be as neat and tidy as this appears right here. This is basically the best way that you can illustrate it using cards on the map. So that's it for special cases for final rushing. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. And for all of you watching out there in Your Move Games Land, have a great night.